afternoon to all, and thank you for being here. It's good to see a room full of people after a long time. And thanks, Pia, for giving us the opportunity to speak. So, key topic, because a lot of changes are happening in the industry, which I will touch upon, but as Christoph reminded, I'll try to leave a few minutes for questioning. So 20 minutes to 2 minutes. Thank you. So yes, Seafarer, UK Seafaring qualification, modernizing of training and assessment. So when I say about seafaring qualification relevant to yachts, we need to keep in mind, because it comes under Article 9 training, certification, Chapter 7 training, there's a lot more flexibility. So we do not have to wait for things to change within the core Part A of STCW to make the changes. So that's need to be kept in mind. So the changes that we are doing, and why are we doing it? Because of technological changes on board. Rod mentioned some, but on the bridge itself, because of digitization, there's a shift from paper-based systems to more digitized systems. And then decarbonization, there's emphasis on use of green fuels, and that's we're seeing huge number of applications for acceptance, especially on domestic vessels, but more on yachts as well. And availability of improved immersive training tools. I mean, we've seen the last couple of years, especially use of blended learning, use of modular platforms, simulators as well. So, and we accept now that could be used in lieu of conventional face-to-face training that's done in a classroom. So, if we talk about technological changes on board, well, it started, I guess, was a big thing then, but thereafter, since it moved on, now UK HO have formally announced the timeline for phased exit of paper charts starting from 2026. I say from 2026, it's actually from 2023, starting with Australian coast, because there's not demand for paper charts. Thereafter, looking at those areas where there's full digital coverage and the demand for paper chart is less. And the plan is by 2027 for the S100, which is an integrated system, much better than S57, includes the publications in a digital format as well to be approved by IHO. And from 2029, any new ships that are delivered to have the new system on board. So that's what that timeline says. And within engineering itself, there's a lot of changes to the workshop skills that's needed compared to what was used many years back. Decarbonization, there's certainly gap in training because people are already using it. What we have done the last last year, I would say, is that we have approved the bespoke training course as and when the company approached us. So, and there was no collaboration done from the very start. The ship was built, but the technology is in use now. There was work done by a consultant for us where they identified gaps in the training, comparing that to STCW, and suggested the next steps. So next steps being stakeholder engagement with all involved in such fuels, be it ship owners, the shipyards, and the training providers to look at the gaps and then develop training starting from the very basic. We won't go to high level because we don't know yet, but we know hydrogen fuel cells are being used. The other day, in the larger service event, the presentation was given on lithium-ion battery, and hence to introduce those within the small vessel engineering or GSK to start with, and thereafter build on that. So that's what is needed. So, and immersive tools, I won't talk about much, but simulator training need to be accepted in lieu of sea service, because now the technology is there. There could be tasks better performed on a simulator than while at sea, because it gives us the facility to do that. So that's the regulations for that will be in place from early January, which would allow us to do different ways of flexibility in sea service. And to start with, we have said we will allow 1:3, so a week's simulator time in lieu of 3 weeks of sea service. So up to a maximum of 1 month. That is for the merchant vessels, but it will certainly be mirrored for the yacht as well. Remote operations, more and more applications for operations for unmanned vessel. Right now from smaller vessels, but we know there's other projects where we have received interest from bigger vessels as well, up to 72 meters, and hence the training for that need to be in place as well. The working group is there. There's two, the Mars international group, which has got now 8 countries who sit with us to work on the qualifications, but inputting into that is the Mars national group, which is about 28 stakeholders from the industry who are working on developing qualifications relevant to autonomous vessel operations. So what we did a few years back, 2020, was we did a survey and we said we will ask the serving seafarers what they felt about STCW. Not surprised, there were a lot of crosses, a lot of things that they wanted to see changed, include more of the simulator practical training rather than just the theory training, which is just for passing the exam, which they will never use ever in their life. So thereafter, there was a Maritime 2050 from the government, that's way down the line, but in that there was a people's roadmap, which emphasized on the training part. Based on that, the Maritime Skills Commission was formed to look at Seafarer training and the way the training is done. It came out with 23 recommendations, which then MCA took upon itself to form working groups to make the changes. And thereby comes the big picture objectives. So I won't go through it in detail, but the crux should be on leadership, education, not just about ships, but stronger appreciation of the business, and to enable smooth shoreside transition if the seafarer so wish. Flexibility for the students, not only in terms of the training provider they go to, but also the style of education. If they want to have 5 days in the classroom in a week, so be it, but if they don't want to do that, there should be other means available, blended approach, which they can pursue the same qualification. And most importantly, encourage to use objective-based criteria rather than the time spent as for measuring educational success. Somebody may take a month to learn a specific topic, for others it may be just a few hours or a week. So that should be accounted for. So modernization, Rod mentioned about changes to STCW, and it's actually not 4 years, it's more than that. You're being very generous. But we can't wait for that for us to change things. We have got the competencies in STCW. On the right hand side, it elaborates on what's required, so there is scope for us to change things, even within STCW. I know the comprehensive review has been initiated. There will be papers put this year by ICS, EMSA. Next year we are planning to put in a detailed paper based on all the work that's happening with the modernization, evidence-based, to change the way it is. I think all the stakeholders agree it cannot be very prescriptive. It should not be a barrier to change. It should be a dynamic convention which would allow for training to change as the technology evolves. So also what we are doing, we are overhauling a suite of students training, which is the syllabus. Syllabus will look very different, and the assessment by end of 2023. And there's working groups who are doing the same since December 2021. So the timeline for that is end of 2023. So just to give you an example, what is being looked at. So these are the templates that's being worked upon. They mirror the STCW. However, questions is being asked as to is this competency relevant? For the training record book, what are the tasks that's related to it and what needs amending, and how would you modernize or amend this particular competency? So you can see the views from the stakeholders where they say paper charts still have a place, but the weightage need to change. Then on the right hand side is they say more inclusive simulated training to give cadets experience of taking a fix, and also it's one example. So there's 72 templates, which includes nautical engineering and ETO qualifications. So all of that is being looked at by the group. It won't be a final product just because there's 12 or 14 stakeholders who have decided that's how it should be. The plan is from November for all of these templates to be put out for external consultation for everybody and anybody to comment on. If somebody says if they strongly feel about a certain topic, whether it should be added over and beyond STCW, no issues, then it will be really, really helpful while we want to make that change. So updates, as I said, the amended regulations for MCA, the SI will look very different from January, which gives us the opportunity to make any change quickly rather than waiting for any regulation to be updated. It's more flexible. It's not very prescriptive and talk about number of hours in classroom and whatnot. It talks about the overarching requirement, but within that there will be flexibility as to how it can be achieved. Comprehensive review, yes, it will take time, but it's being initiated. Oral exams is key part of the qualification, but to make the process efficient, we have been doing online oral exam for the last couple of years because of COVID, but there's wide acceptance that should be the norm, and it's a norm now. It's not a COVID measure anymore, so the oral exams will be done online remotely. But what we will introduce is a split part to it to ensure more consistency. The first part will be done online with a proctoring tool without any involvement from the surveyor. So standard questions from a question bank, ROR, voyage, stability will be included. To start with, it will be for the officer of watches, officer of watch nautical. Thereafter, possibly for the master 200 and UK labs as well. So it will be in phases because a question bank needs to be developed. Review of written exams need to be done. It will not be written exams, possibly will not be written exams in future, because if we are spending less time on paper charts, if we are spending less time calculating manual stability, it should be relevant to what's actually done on board. The assessment should also mirror the passage planning on an actress and loading or unloading on a stability computer. So, and matters regarding cybersecurity and other areas which will be very relevant to the Seafarer. So we have got a officer of watch less than 500 group, which is about streamlining pathways. Many of the core competencies across different type of vessels are more or less the same. Doesn't matter what type of vessel you work on, the navigation, the core competencies are the same. So this will provide an opportunity to allow for that qualification to be accepted for other type of vessels, and a route for progression, possibly all the way to unlimited COCs. For getting feedback, right now the only time we get feedback is ever when we go to a college for an audit, go to a training provider, or hear from the students when they come for an oral exam. But in future, with the digital platform that's being developed, the intention is to be a pathway for continuous feedback from the student. So the work that started is on a digital platform, end-to-end application and COC till the time the COC is issued by the student to be done online. So they will be able to apply online. The training provider would be able to issue the short course certificates digitally. The students the seafarers can print it if they want to, and which would then be updated in the MCA system, and thereafter when a seafarer meets all the requirements, they click a button and we can print a COC and issue it to them. So it can't be a digital COC for now because you still have to do a physical COC. but in future it could be digital. At least we are ready at that time.
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm done.
Take your time.
It's fine. Simulator should be made available to ensure consistency in competency-based training. It's very, very important. At least there will be a level playing field. Everybody would have done the same thing. So hence we need to include more simulators because they are available now. So safety papers, I mentioned about it. So digital-based assessment, which will improve the customer experience and result in delays delivering qualification results and certificates. So right now you do a written paper, it goes to and fro from the center to SQ or IME, and then it comes back, and then it takes 2 months before if there was to be a receipt. But a more dynamic system, questions relevant, and then improved way of moderation and assessment as well. And the continued demonstration of digital by default and management process within overview. So in all this, the training record book is a key tool because that's what is used by the seafarer on board any type of vessel to do the task. It should be very, very current. There's no point having task in it which is not doable by the seafarer, or which they or for the training, which is just for as a paperwork exercise. So that will be digital in future because that's only then can that end-to-end digital journey be accomplished. So again, early days, but the system will have interaction with the MCA digital platform, whereby the information, the task would be fed into the system, and it can be looked at by the surveyors and the operational team as well for agreeing the sea service. So access-based login to the stakeholders, training provider, shipping companies, so that they could feed into the task done by the training. So in all this, there's some changes to yacht engineering as well. Most in the room will be aware of it. The Y route for engineers will cease to exist end of this year, and small vessel engineering will be the way forward. So the Y COC holders will be able to revalidate the COC if they fulfill the MSN 1861 requirements, and they can convert the existing certificate of COC to small vessel engineering COC as well. And the yacht skills training, which will now be the small vessel engineering workshop skills training, will be in place as well. So Wanya did ask me a question regarding entry route for the non-UK engineering qualifications. So that will still stay. That will be the case. So I'm praised that I've been assured that still will be there. So yes, in all this, there's a lot of engagement happening. So there's interaction with the stakeholders while all these platforms are being developed. I'll be sending in links and questionnaires and the names to the stakeholders. So please do, if you hear from any of our researchers, do give your time, 20 to 30 minutes per session. But it's really, really useful to hear from the stakeholders while we make all this change. So hopefully I'm on time. So questions?
You are right on time. Thank you very much, Ajit.
Thank you.
So we have a few minutes for question and answers with Ajit. I'm surprised John Wyborn is not the first one. Yes, please.
I was first. With regards to the all exams staying online, does that mean that there's not going to be any face-to-face ever again?
So face-to-face will only be in a situation where the surveyor or examiner has reasons to believe that it's not being done in the right way for the candidate. Now what we are doing is next month, or probably from November, we'll be starting recording of oral exams. So all exams will be recorded, which then presents the opportunity for the seafarer to challenge the outcome if they want to. So there will be limited time, 5 days, working days probably we're working on it, and that will be kept. It will only be pulled out if the outcome is challenged. And thereafter it will be looked at by a panel, an independent panel, which doesn't involve the examiner themselves to examine, and thereafter the outcome will be given. So what we don't want is hundreds of challenges. There will have to be some caveat, because you can't just expect if it's a no, then so we're finalizing that, but that will be.
We've got a list of people who are waiting for the exams to go back to face-to-face because they don't want to do them online, so that's bad news to some people.
It's just not, because majority of the stakeholders, they actually like it.
The majority do.
It's environment friendly as well. They don't have to travel for long distances.
Okay, thank you.
Will training providers have access to sample questions of the pre-oral exams to help us prepare them for that?
There's a prototype, there's a lot of dummy version, so I'm sure that will be given. So, and it really mirrors the one, if you've seen the ones which I sent for the online oral exam, the platform looks very similar. Obviously it's proctoring tool and the questions are different. It will have 6 options. One, subject area, navigation, so ROR, 6 questions in that. So yeah, fine, we will have some dummy questions for training purposes.
Brilliant. And can I ask another one?
Please do.
Yeah, I asked you this the other day, Ajit, so hopefully you got the same answer. But
I know the question.
training record books.
Oh.
Sea time and the requirement for sea time makes the assumption that there's actually learning and that sea time is learning time. And as we all know, it isn't, frankly, all too often. So the training record book is really crucial here, and matching the tasks and assignments in the training record book so that they actually mean something on the courses that we're teaching in the classroom and online. I think you said that the MCA are not going to produce themselves a TRB, they're going to produce the specification for the TRB, i.e. what it's going to meet. Am I correct?
So there's more to it. I can't promise that. The reason is because it's a system which will have interaction directly with government platform. Because the TRB will be used by the student, it will have to be accessed by the operation team, and it's a key part of the sea service. It's a requirement. So it has to meet the government rules for the digitization. So we are having early discussions. Obviously my preference would have been that it's the best product, regardless how it's produced, but it has to meet those requirements. The safety paper is slightly different because there's no need for any login from MCA surveyor or operation team to look at the result. All we need is data to say that so and so candidate have passed the exams. TRB is slightly different. It has to go through the government digital system assessment and whatnot. So the conversation is on. So I will not be able to give an answer now, but in a week's, probably in a month's time, we will have a way forward.
Okay.
Thank you. We have time for a couple more questions at the back there.
Hi, you talk about what MCA is doing and STCW, but is anything being done with other authorities to ensure a level of training, and once the changes are done, hopefully we'll have less issues with recognition of tickets, COCs, short courses between flags, between states?
Yeah,
I feel the biggest issue we see at the moment with students. If they decided to do a course with MCA, then another authority might not recognize it, or the other way around.
Yes, no, you're right. So we have got the MOUs, which is as per the regulation 110, but your COCs we look at it slightly differently because it's not covered by 110. It's Article 9, Chapter 7 training. So, but there are countries that we recognize, but only after looking at the training. So to say that, so others which we have accepted for merchant ships would have been either audited by EMSA or by us directly. For the yacht, it would have been audited by us.
But this includes also the short courses. We're not talking about just yacht COCs. There is a big issue, if you did a PSCRB course in a certain, or EGDIS, or ARPA.
Yeah, but it's a wide list of countries. We've hardly faced, because all EU countries are accepted, and there's further countries as well, more countries than that, which we accept for the safety training. What we obviously do not accept the whole whitelist countries, which we can't, unfortunately there is disparity in training, even though the standards are common. So, but if a company has ever come to us to say, look at the training for that country, because we are getting officers from those countries, then we have looked at that. either through EMSA or ourselves, we have said, right, we will look at the training and try to sign an MOU with them. Ghana is one such example where we have signed MOU with them a couple of months back because there were requests for accepting training from that country.
Thank you. Quick one, please. The back one.
Thanks, Ajit, again. Have attended the last couple of days anyway. Just to be clear on this, I just want to confirm this. So as far as I can see, seafarers will no longer be trained on paper charts. That's one question. Is that correct?
So
Paper charts are out, so they're going to go more in the direction of EGDIS, correct?
more in the direction of like this, but the basics need to be, for me as a seafarer, I think if you teach the basics, they got to be on the paper charts, but the weightage need to be very different. I think right now you can say it's 20 and 80, 20% is maybe digital, 80% is paper charts. In future probably we'll be looking at 80% digital.
Okay, so
Just
the
the
follow-up to
basics
that is then, with regards to STCW, you have the specific and the general training and the specific training for EGDIS,
Yes.
you know?
Yes.
So I guess for anything which is below 500 GRT
Yeah.
would be applicable the same, right?
Oh, for that, yes, because UKHO, and I asked the same question, because the small vessel sector, they use electronic charts, there has to be some approved or many approved ones available so that there's some commonality. So the requirement will then be the same for them as well.
Ajit, are you staying for the drinks party at the end?
I am indeed.
Perfect. So if you have any more questions, I suggest that you try to grab Ajit. Thank you very much, Ajit.